Yes, not Monken. It was the other not the other quarterback, the other coordinator by the name of Todd, not Todd, but Grantham, and the other offensive coordinator that went to Tennessee not too long after Kirby Smart got there. I cannot remember his name, but and one more after that until Kirby Smart got everything solidified. And I'm doing this again because my phone overheated and ended up cutting off mid-sentence. But with the NIL deals, every school should be put into a situation that every school has to be capped out. Like, let's say at $250,000 for each player, or whatever the case may be with that. If a booster or alumni, whatever the case may be, shoots the player $150,000 and they get a deal from Nike's, Popeyes, a car dealership, hometown grocery store, whatever the case may be, and that equals out to another $100,000, $250,000 is met, and that's it. They can't be able to get any more money from that, because they're already getting paid. And with that being said, they should not be able to buy players. It will be a lot harder for that to happen. Let's just use the reference of the Reggie Bush situation. In a sense, he was bought to go to USC, and when they found out, they stripped USC of their national and brought up a lot of information about how he got a Cadillac, his mother got a home, and things of that nature. If that was the case, or that just so happens in the near future, in this hypothetical situation, that should happen. That's not a competitive edge to cheat in any school's sports program, football program per se, in this context, that they can buy a player and put them on a team. A lot of people are mad at Texas A&M for shelling out money to get this all-star class that they have not gotten until NIL became available. If Texas A&M goes out there and take a poop in the middle of the field, taking this from Uncle Lou, take a big old doo-doo in the middle of the field with the team that they have, they will be a laughingstock of the SEC and possibly the whole college football world, for the fact that they bought these players and they still could not compete against Alabama. And that's going to be the game to watch this year, especially with what Jimbo has said the year before, that he was going to come out and beat Bama, hypothetically speaking, that the team was going to come out and beat Bama, and they absolutely pulled it off. Now, if Jimbo Fisher and his squad comes out and do it again, Alabama's going to be in trouble. If Georgia can beat an 11-1 or 10-1 Alabama team in the SEC championship, or let's just say Texas A&M pulls it off and Alabama loses to Auburn, and we beat Auburn, it's going to be crazy that Alabama did not make it to the SEC championship, and a lot of Bama fans are going to be calling for Nick Saban head like they did once before. Like I said, a lot of Bama fans, not all of them, but a lot of them. And on to the Archie Manning situation, bit my tongue. That whole thing to me is getting very annoying, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. It's becoming annoying for the simple fact that everybody has their hopes. I'm not going to say everybody. Let me rephrase that. A lot of people have their hopes that Archie Manning is coming. Arch Manning is coming to UGA. He has, I think, 2 schools at the top of his list right now, which is possibly 2 or 3 schools, let me say it like that, which is possibly Texas, Alabama, and Georgia. I've been hearing a lot of Texas and Georgia at the top of his list. I really don't see what the hype is when Gunnar Stockton got a lot of hype, Brock Vandagriff got a lot of hype, Carson Beck, I say he got about the same amount, maybe a little less hype. We have, I'm not even counting Stetson Bennett. We have those 3 quarterbacks, and a lot of people making fun of the Dog Nation chat of saying Muschamp's son is going to be the next QB, or he's going to be a third, or whatever the case may be. That's funny till we see what happens. Let's just say we have those 4 quarterbacks plus Arch Manning. We already know if he decides to come to Georgia, he's not finna sit 3 to 4 years behind any of these other QBs to take the spot. He is going to leave. And on top of that, to me, that would be, not in his regard, that would be extremely unnecessary to sit that long, because Georgia already has Carson Beck, who can possibly take over next year. Brock Vandagriff can possibly take over next year. So that's a shootout with those two. Gunner, this would be his second year. Muschamp's son, I think next year will be his second year as well. And then you get Arch Manning as his first year. Those are 2 to 4 quarterbacks that's already there, and Arch should already have a well understood grasp of the offensive playbook. So this hype about Arch Manning coming to Georgia, me personally, I think it should die down. This is where my rant comes in at, because it is getting ridiculous that everybody has such high hopes on Arch Manning coming to Georgia. We already have 3 to 4 other quarterbacks that can possibly take over the offense after Stetson leaves. If one of those two decide to go, let's just say Carson and Brock Vandagriff leaves. That leaves Gunner, Muschamp's son, and then Arch Manning coming in. We're pretty much starting over from scratch. How is that a good thing? Somebody explain to me, how is that a good idea that we lose 2 players that have been there for 2 years that should have a well understood grasp of the offensive playbook that Todd Monken is running? Plus your young running backs we got coming in, off the offensive line, wide receivers, and everything else to that effect. If Arch Manning is such a threat at that level, okay, 2 players are going to have to go. That's just the bottom line. Arch sits for a year and then take over his second year, which is going to be a problem because you will have Gunner, who would be at least 2 to 3 years ahead of him, Muschamp's son, which will also be 2 to 3 years ahead of him, and then you have Arch just jumping them in that regard. If Arch is that smart, and I'm not saying this to be facetious, I'm not saying this to knock the young man, because I don't know what his QB IQ is, but if he is such a threat that some people are hyping up to be, yes, go for him and get him. But that also means he cannot sit on that bench like some of the other players that were good before him. I can't say better, because Arch at that point in time was probably in middle school or a freshman in high school when some of the other players at Georgia was starting or was at the school in general. Now this Arch Manning hype, to me, I'm going to say it again because I'm sick of hearing it, is getting ridiculous. Let's talk about some of the wide receivers as far as the places that I listen to information on Georgia football. Talk about the wide receivers. Let's talk about the running backs. Let's talk about the DBs. Let's talk about the linebackers. They'll get touched on a little bit and then it goes straight into quarterback talk. If he is such a miraculous player, yes, Georgia needs to get him so we can win at least 2 nationals with him, hopefully 1 with Carson or 1 with Brock Vandagriff. If he is just that awesome as a young quarterback coming in. But to me, he is going to be a special talent, I would say. I haven't had a chance to watch much high school film on him. I think I got a chance to watch maybe 2 when the hype really started. And it seems like Dog Nation is taking this shit to a whole nother level, and it's getting ridiculous. Like, I'm tired of hearing about the young man. God dang, talk about players that we got there already. And I did look at one video of another young man. I can't even remember his name right now, but somebody had put it in the chat, Rosini or something to that effect. I'm jacking it up, excuse me for doing that. I looked at one of his highlight films. That dude is nice. But I think he on his way to Ohio State, which I understand is not a big deal. But if Archie Manning is so good, go for it. Go get him. If he don't come to Georgia, okay, long as he ain't playing in the SEC, don't even worry about it. But if he's playing in the SEC, he's going to be a threat by the way a lot of people are talking about this young man and trying to put him on, in a sense, a pedestal, as if just because he's Eli and Peyton Manning's nephew, he's going to do the same thing. That don't necessarily transfer over all the time. We've seen players who have had sons, nephews. I say it's a 50-50 thing because I don't look at the stats on that type of stuff, that their relatives come out and be as good or better than them. Is Arch Manning going to be better than them? Don't know yet. Not even going to put that out there. But with him coming to Georgia, I really don't see it as being that big of a deal, with him being behind possibly 2 other players if they don't hit the transfer portal at least by next year, with him coming into the draft class of 2023. It is not that serious. Dog Nation, I like listening to y'all, but y'all got to find something else to talk about. Like, it's getting extremely repetitive. Let me enunciate that better. Repetitive. That this is the only player y'all highlight. We have Malachi Starks, gets really no love as far as high school highlight film. The dude is an athlete, offense and defense and special teams. Arch is not doing that. He's only on offense. There's another stud on defense. I forgot his name. He's an absolute monster from what I've seen as far as dealing with high school. And in the GA game, they got brought up a little bit. Haven't heard nothing else about it. Only thing we hearing about is Arch Manning this, Arch Manning that. If we can get Arch Manning, man, fuck that shit. If he show up, he show up. Cool. Let's highlight the other players that we already got, that's already here. Hype them up. I'm going to try to do a video and name some of the players that I've already seen and try to get their names out there, because it seems like Arch Manning is the only situation we need to be worried about. Me personally, I'm not concerned with Arch Manning coming to Georgia like that, for real. And with a lot of people, I'm going to say a few, with a few people, the way the chat has been going in Dog Nation, they don't see him coming either. And if he do show up, he might sit the bench. Unless it goes to a hypothetical situation where Kirby Smart just liked the young man so much, he put him over the other QBs that's been there. Now, if the other QBs are not getting a hold on the playbook and he does, put him in. I'm with playing the best player that shows the ability to understand and then physically show that they can play. If he is not, you done put off, kicked out 2 players that understand the playbook. Now, if both of those players don't understand the playbook between Carson Beck and Muschamp, there's an issue. There's a serious issue. They either need to be moved to another position, or they just gonna have to fight it out and wait their turn. Because I'm really getting tired of this Arch Manning talk. But other than that, I'm out. I appreciate y'all. This DSA 1 will take 2 of goddamn of UGA fan opinion and rants. I'm out.